How are you defined? The bio, the intro, your elevator speech, your pitch deck, the line underneath your name on a business card, how your parents describe you to their friends, what your girlfriend or your wife or your husband says about you to strangers, what you tell yourself when it's dark and everyone is sleeping except for you, the dash on your gravestone. Yes, all this may sound heavy, but when you dedicate your life to something, whatever that may be, this is what's at stake, your definition. For a few select individuals, very unique creatures on this big, bold earth, how they are defined to themselves and to their peers, to their friends, to their enemies, comes down to what happens on 5 days in a year. More specifically, what they do or don't do on those days, on 5 Sundays. Entering the 4th NXL event of the season, the battle between Paintball's best teams was getting interesting. So far, after 3 events, we had 3 different winners. Edmonton Impact took Las Vegas, the Russians won Texas, and San Antonio XFactor finally made it back to the top of the mountain after a long and difficult climb. And the rest of the top teams were right on their tails. The race for the series title was wide open. It was no longer a one-team show, but who would prevail and set themselves up for a series title run at the World Cup? We would find out in Chicago. The wildcard round had a few teams who weren't used to fighting for their lives bright and early Sunday morning. For AC Dallas, fortune did not favor their starting lineup before the event. The most consistent gunfighter on the team, TJ Danner, hurt his knee and would not be able to play. AC Dallas started off the tournament by losing their first game by 2 points to a much improved Tampa Bay Damage. But then they easily defeated the ML Kings in PC Katana.
As they are going to do the joust, and then Pi's going to turn around and be like, really, bro? And Brad's going to be like, yeah, really, bro.
And beat Edmonton Impact in their last match by 1 point. Ryan Hall drew the start in Danner's absence, and the center fortress was tailor-made for his style of play. AC Dallas was still a favorite. Their opponents, Los Angeles Infamous, would also be losing a key member of their squad, though it wouldn't happen until after Chicago. After a long and memorable career, Drew Templeton would be walking away from the game. He played the prelims like a man on a mission and helped Infamous move on to Sunday. In typical fashion, Infamous, one of the most storied teams in the game, had a dramatic run in the prelims. They lost their first game by 1 to New York Extreme, but then put up a win against Seattle Thunder. Their next game was another close win, this time against Green Bay Boom, and then they lost their last game to the Russians by 3. Like they had all season long, they barely skated into Sunday's top 10 at 2-2. At the start of the match, AC Dallas sent their missile, BJ Henningberg, into the snake off the break. Infamous lost Ryan Rodarte from the center. AC Dallas took ground, and BJ Henningberg played aggressive on the snake side. Infamous was trapped in the back early. They tried to reposition, but AC didn't miss their shots and they took the lead 1-0. In the second point, both teams lost a body early attacking, AC Dallas from the snake and Infamous from the center. Then Brad McCurley and Matt Jackson pushed forward, and Infamous couldn't stay alive. It was 2-0, AC Dallas. Down 2, but with plenty of time left, Infamous was able to get shots on Henningberg and McCurley off the break, but they lost 2 bodies of their own and it was a 3-on-3. Jerry Carl went into the 50 snake for Infamous, and AC was trapped in the back center of the field. Cody Mikowski attempted a run-through, but a major penalty was assessed, giving AC Dallas a 3-point lead. In the fourth point, with over 10 minutes left to go, both teams went into the snake. Ryan Hall died off the break, and Infamous had a 5-on-4 advantage. Jerry Carl coasted into the 50 snake and went on the attack, as bodies dropped for both teams. It came down to a 3-on-3. But then Infamous lost a body out of the back corner, and Drew Templeton, who was in their center 50, made a move out to the snake. Matt Jackson saw the move, and he made a great counterattack.
Is slowly but surely potentially going to be ending here, as now Matt Jackson is going to come and dunk on Drew Templeton, who's just doing everything he possibly could here in this point.
Gets them both.
AC Dallas had built up a 4-0 lead, and this lead would hold. Infamous just couldn't find a way to break through their line, and AC Dallas moved into the quarterfinals to face the Russians. After a 2-event run of solid prelim performances, Senegal Dynasty found themselves in the wildcard round for the second time this season.
At the 4th event, what I felt to the prelims, we had the Ironman first, without scouting him. Damien's coming back. I knew he was going to be squirrely in the middle. And we sort of were messing with them at practice, which I was like, don't go over and mess with these guys, let's just do our thing. But Alex likes to have a lot of fun. And we went over there and they went over and watched them play a little bit. And Arturo was on crutches, so he was over there kind of messing with them. And I was, in my back of my head, I was thinking, you're just giving these guys a little bit like of motivation, and I'm not going to be able to scout them, and that's all they're going to come in with is some motivation. So they came into that match with a little fire in their belly and got up on us in points, and then we tried to come back in the match, but that was that. Then they were talking shit at the end of the match. Damien said, almost, that's that. Then the fire switched to our belly, and I was like, I hope we get these motherfuckers coming down the line in the tournament. That's what I'm thinking as a coach. We'll fucking swab on these guys, right? That's what I'm thinking. And then that's a push for me to like, let's push that on down the line.
They dropped their first game to the Ironman by 1, then smashed DMG by 5. They also rolled through Elevation in a Mercy Rule win, but dropped their last prelim game to Heat by 1. The 2-2 record forced them into the wild card match. They drew the Ironman in a rematch from the prelims. The Ironman had a roller coaster ride through the prelims themselves. They beat Dynasty, but then got dismantled by Heat in a Mercy Rule loss. They came back to beat DMG by 1 in a close game, and then put a beating in a massive Mercy Rule win over Elevation. To start the game, both teams went up the center and into the snake. Arturo Andrade won the battle on the snake side against Kyle Spica. Marcelo Margot made a move into the center to take out Trevor Reeser, and Andrade was shot at the same time, but so was Damian Ryan. As the bodies dropped, veteran Ryan Greenspan got into the snake, and the last 2 Ironman bodies were trapped in the backfield. Greenspan shot Thomas Kim, and Dynasty went up 1-0. In the second point, the Ironman lost 2 bodies early, including Kyle Spica again from the snake side. Although Dynasty lost Alex Rodriguez from the center, Arturo Andrade made it past the 50 snake, and Margot ran through the center, making it an easy point for Senegal Dynasty. Survivability issues had cost the Ironman 2 points. But then Margot wasn't able to get to the start station in time, and the Ironman started 5-on-4. Spica went into the 50 snake, but then made a tactical retreat, trying to set a trap for Andrade. Yosh Rao got caught cross field, and Trevor Reeser came through the center. The point was finished off by Al Fernandez and Spica. Dynasty and the Ironman mirrored up in the center and snake to start off the next point. Spica tried to come over the top of his bunker and was shot from the inside. It was 4-on-5. Alex Rodriguez came through and bunkered out Trevor Reeser. A penalty was thrown on Reeser, and Dynasty went up by 2. With the penalty carrying over, the Ironman had to start with 4. They lost a body off the D side on the break. Another one came off, and they were forced to concede to save time. Back at full strength, the Ironman pushed into the center and took out Alex Rodriguez. Damian Ryan then came over the top from the 50 snake to shoot Ryan Greenspan to make it a 5-on-3. Arturo was focused on Damian, and Spica came through the center to get the key kill, and then Trevor Reeser finished it from the D side. With 4:20 left and up by 2 points, Dynasty was trying to hold on to the lead and sent Margot into the center 50 to slow down the Ironman's attack. Spica went to the 50 snake looking inside. But the Ironman lost Damian Ryan trying to protect Spica. Then Spica evened it up by shooting Arturo Andrade. Margot got shot out of the center and drew a penalty. It came down to a 2-on-1. The Ironman took the point, and they still had a chance. In the last point, Dynasty was able to clip LJ Parrish off the break and took the early advantage 5-on-4. But then a minor was thrown on Marcelo Margot, his second penalty, and the Ironman were on their toes and looking to push forward. But then Spica was shot cross-field by Harmon. Damian Ryan then also got a shot on Harmon, but was hit trying to get past the 50-yard line. It was a 2-on-2. The Ironman still had those 2 bodies left alive when the time expired. The Cardinals sent a paintball. Dynasty held on to take the victory and moved on into the quarterfinals to play Tampa Bay Damage.
The game plans were definitely working, and we weren't changing too much in them. We were just able to get Tyler out on the snake side, and he was surviving out there, and that was kind of a different adjustment of having Tyler on the snake side split. And we had Ryan over there. So we had some pretty strong offense on that snake side. And, you know, once the guys were getting a good momentum going, it was easy to build off of.
Well, about that snapshot, it's just something that I've, you know, for all my life, it's something you practice every day. The snapshot is what you will be doing against everybody, actually. So it's just a regular snapshot where you try to do it as fast as you can and as accurate as you can. And, well, I've been trying to perfect it as a weapon when you're in a close quarter battle. It's helped me to just shoot out people when there's nothing else to do, you know, when there's no other option but to risk it and force the issue. That's where the snapshot comes out.
Edmonton and Pack came into Chicago looking to prove themselves yet again. After winning the first event, it had been 2 disappointing finishes in a row, a 6th and a 9th place. They had no problems in their first 3 games, beating Damage by 1, PC Katana by 6, and the MO Kings by 5, but they lost their last prelim match against AC Dallas by 1 point. San Antonio XFactor was their opponent in the quarterfinals. This would be the 3rd meeting between these 2 Titans in 2019 so far, with the record locked at 1-1, but the point total being dead even. a favorite, would be going home early, and it would have series title implications. Coming off their win at the last event, XFactor looked unstoppable in the prelims, winning all 4 games easily, dominating Uprising, the Outlaws, Aftermath, and Baltimore Revo.
Going to be XFactor taking on Edmonton Impact here in the quarterfinals. Also in this set, Houston Heat and Baltimore Revo.
So this is the finals?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying? Who's going for first and second?
That's definitely been the finals before, but what's crazy is that someone between XFactor, Impact, and Heat is not going to be in the finals.
At the start of the game, Impact sent Justin Rabikoff up the center. XFactor went out wide and it was 5-on-5, but Impact had better position. XFactor filtered up the field, and everyone locked into long gunfights, not wanting to make a mistake. John Woodley, back from retirement and playing the best paintball he ever has, broke the stalemate, getting a shot on Justin Cornell as he tried to push up the D side at the 8-11 mark. Rabikoff played the aggressor in the middle and tried to get the drop on Jesse Stevens. But Stevens made it through the lane and got the crossfield shot on Zach Gakomek. J-Rab bunkered out Woodley, but Jesse Stevens got the 3-pack to put the first point on the board for San Antonio XFactor. After a first point that lasted 9 minutes and 18 seconds, both teams knew that every point was crucial.
I shot your mirror. Oh, baby.
J-Rab went back up the center on a delay after staying in the back to shoot off the break. Billy Bernaccia went into the snake. It was 5-on-5 again, until Bernaccia got a shot on Justin Rabikoff. But then Rainey Stanzik was shot out of his spot to even up the count. Archie Montemayor snuck up the D side when the gun shifted to Bernaccia, and it was a clean 2-pack to finish. XFactor was up by 2. There was now only 3 minutes and 28 seconds left. Impact had a big break, needing to risk bodies to get up the field. They lost Justin Rabikoff and Justin Cornell. Knowing XFactor would just sit and burn time in the 3-on-5, they conceded to give themselves a chance. Now down 3 with just 3 minutes left, Impact sent Alex Goldman into the snake off the break and launched downfield into XFactor's crossed-up guns. XFactor made their shots, and Impact was down a body again. Laval then drew a minor penalty, and they conceded, losing their 4th point in a row. Impact just couldn't recover. They put a few points up on the board for pride, running and gunning down the field. XFactor had again knocked out their arch-nemesis Impact, and they moved on into the semifinals.
To be completely honest and quite frank, it was a shitty game plan. It was a game plan where we put it on the thing, and I said no. I said this is not a good idea. And we ran it anyways, and we lost. Now, would have something different have been better? I don't know. Hindsight's 20/20. Anyone could have looked back and like, this would have been perfect, right? These guys in this situation would have been perfect. But the moves that we made and the guns that we had, I disagreed with, and I still believe that it was just a wrong game plan. But that happens. You know, that happens, and it'll happen again. Maybe not to us, but to another team. Honestly, it'll probably happen to us again. It's bound to happen. At one point or another, you're just gonna make a bad game plan that doesn't work, but that you thought would, could have worked at the time. I know. Play. We know now. It's all good. Hey, great fucking job. I won that game because the early shit. Yeah, fuck yeah.
Though our defending world champs, Houston Heat, had yet to put up a win since their World Cup victory last year, and lost in the quarterfinals to the Russians in Philadelphia, they were proving to be one of paintball's most consistent teams. On the first day of the prelims in Chicago, they smashed through both the Ironman and Elevation, and then took 1-point wins from DMG and Dynasty to go undefeated and coast into Sunday. Baltimore Revo had also been consistent, making every Sunday except at World Cup last season, going back to Vegas of 2018. They'd only been to the semifinals twice in their careers. They won their first 3 prelim games, barely beating Aftermath, destroying Uprising, and taking down the Outlaws by 4. Though they did drop their last game, getting shut out by XFactor, the 3-1 record got them into the quarterfinals, where they drew Houston Heat. The first point was an easy one for Heat, as they shot 2 bodies off the break from the snake side. Chad George went into the 50 snake. Stephen Amara didn't know where Ryan Smith was in the center fortress, and it cost him his body. George cleaned up the last kills, and Heat took the early lead. Revo took out Sam Monville at the start of the next point. Chad Boucher got into the snake but lost a gunfight to Matt Derula to give Revo a 2-body advantage. They made the most of it and tied the game. Revo kept up the pressure at the beginning of the 3rd point, shooting Chad George and Ryan Moorhead. Amara made the smart move to trade out in the center, and they were able to finish off the 2-on-4 to take the lead. The next point was a long grind. Heat lost Ronnie Dizon early and pushed up the center with Chad Boucher. Revo ran him down and it was a 4-on-3. At the 6-minute mark, Max Traylor made the low crawl inside to get into the snake and try to set a trap, but Heat didn't bite. Both teams locked into long gunfights, burning through their paint, with Revo trying to hold the line and Houston Heat trying to find a way to break through. Fedorov probed the snake side 50, looking for a way to attack with no pods left on his back. Sam Monville made the key kill on Dan Zaleski, and Mishka Kiesnev expertly worked up the D side for Heat. Fedorov jumped over Traylor's bunker to take out Max, and then sprinted in to hit the buzzer. Heat had won the low body situation to tie the game with under 2 minutes to go.
And Max Traylor's about to get dunked on. Oh, by Konstantin Fedorov. And Konstantin Fedorov able to pop back up, and it looks like he's alive.
I feel like he's just trying to get in pictures now.
Just rumbling, stumbling,
falling everywhere.
He's caught up in that bunker.
In overtime, Revo doubled up the backfield and lost Max Traylor. But Heat threw away the advantage when Ryan Moorhead lost a gunfight. Dan Zaleski then died off the snake side to give Heat the advantage. Rula also came off. It was a 4-on-2 situation, but Revo still had O'Mara up in the center. Heat swarmed on O'Mara, won the game, and moved on into the semifinals. Fresh off their victory in the wildcard round, AC Dallas matched up against the team that had beat them in front of their hometown crowd in the finals at the second event in Texas. In Chicago, the Russians were down 3 starters. Kirill Peridny, Sergei Solonaiskov, and Leo Smotrov were not able to attend the event. Still, the Russian Legion looked fearless and aggressive in the prelims, going undefeated, with wins over Seattle Thunder, Green Bay Boom, New York Extreme, and LA Infamous. With no Leo Smotrov and a layout that favored a strong snake-side attack, Pasha Karslev showed his versatility as the first attacker, switching over to the snake side and running a clinic during the prelims, solidifying his superstar status. Yes, the last time these teams met in the finals in Texas, AC did not have an answer, losing by 5. But this time, things would be different.
About the factors that brings your team up to the top and giving you a chance to win in a professional division like place number 1 are simple. It's the finances, it's a deep squad, talents in the squad, and the amount of times being in the finals. Let's say it's the experience, team experience, yeah? So AC Dallas has the finances, AC Dallas has the experience of being in the finals, but AC doesn't have a deep squad, yeah, where 2 to 3 stars, not like stars, but like miracles that can make the game very different in there, yeah. And to be honest, I also believe that AC Dallas has a little trouble of little totalitarianism. Only Jackson brothers are taking decisions. Exact persons are taking the decisions and trying to teach others what to do. At the first sight, at the first moments, it could be a really good direction to follow, and they're doing it really great, yeah. But then in the end, if you're not listening to the other views, yeah, you lose the realistic picture of what's happening. Brad McCurley, when you don't know what Brad McCurley gonna do, when you don't know what TJ is gonna do, when you don't know what the BJ is gonna do, that's much harder to control and predict what the team overall gonna do.
We are about halfway done with the quarterfinals, already waiting in the semis. San Antonio XFactor and Houston Heat. If you missed those games, they were pretty good ones. But Rich, Russian Legion and AC Dallas, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
I haven't seen the Russians play yet. I have seen AC play. I thought they were playing really well. I think it's going to come down to breakout. Whoever wins these breakouts is probably going to win the majority of these points.
The game started with both teams heading up the center off the break. The Russians quickly got Malloy into the snake wall. Karslev and Golev lost gunfights, and it was 5-on-3 for AC. Anningberg got shot out of his spot, but AC clipped Kozyrev out of the back corner on the D side. Malloy tried to attack past the 50-yard line, but John Jackson bunkered him out to finish the point. Trying to answer, the Russians sent Karslev to the 50 brick right away. It was a car crash point. The bodies dropped for both squads. But Mac Jackson made a big counter move inside to bunker out Malloy and shot Golev in the back to finish off the point.
Gonna come get him. Twice now, Malloy's gotten bunkered out of the spot. Matt Jackson's going to stand up and just roast Golov in the back.
And the statisticians really love when you get those 2 kills like that. It's really easy for them to keep track of them.
The next point was a showcase for Ryan Hall, who got into the center and got 2 quick kills. Another body came off and the Russians were forced to concede the 2-on-5. Now down 3. The Russians uncharacteristically didn't commit any bodies to the early attack, and it cost them. They lost 2 bodies in sloppy deaths. And though AC Dallas lost 2 as well, the Russians chose to concede after losing another body. It was now 4-0 with 8:15 left on the clock, and AC Dallas was absolutely dominating. Legion desperately needed points to swing the momentum. They fought back, and they put up enough points to make it close on the scoreboard. But AC Dallas was in full control, and they had done what they needed to do. Legion went out on their swords as they always have, pushing into the tight lines of AC Dallas's crossed-up guns. It was a perfect execution of the bend but don't break game plan. The early mistakes and lost gunfights made the difference. AC Dallas had avenged their loss from the finals in Texas and knocked out one of the big favorites at the event. They moved on to their 4th chance to win a tournament, matching up against their regional rivals, San Antonio XFactor.
AC Dallas is going to be
Dallas.
taking down the Russian Legion, who just could not get it done with their new lineup. They got a flat start to this match, straight up. They looked sloppy those first points. They let AC Dallas, one of the hardest teams in the league, to come back on, put up those first 4 points, and then AC Dallas, they gave up a few, but they did enough.
Yeah.
It is a testament to that team, though, that they can drop 3 starters and still barely lose to AC Dallas out here on Sunday, right? I mean, you can imagine with those 3 starters, that game probably would have looked a little bit different.
After their win against the Los Angeles Ironmen in the battle for SoCal bragging rights, Senegal Dynasty moved on to play Tampa Bay Damage in the quarterfinals. Damage had been intentionally slowing down the field, making their opponents play their style of paintball, and it had been working. After dropping their first match in the prelims to Impact 2-1, they put 3 wins on the board against AC Dallas, PC Kitana, and the ML Kings. Since their slow start to the 2019 season, Tampa Bay Damage had looked like a different team the past 2 events. Dynasty had been on the edge of excellence all year, and for Damage, it would be a big statement to the league if they could knock them out. But would their slow game plan match up with San Diego Dynasty? In the first point, Dynasty started taking the fight to Damage, getting Marcelo Morgat, fresh off a knee injury, up the center and past the 50. Dynasty and Damage were mirrored up on the snake side, with Brian Smith and Arturo Andrade. Damage's plan was to contain Dynasty, win gunfights, and hope Dynasty made the first mistakes. Marcelo Morgat was shot from the center, and it was 4-on-5. Andrade pushed into the 50 snake with Ryan Greenspan right behind him. Ryan got shot, which allowed Jacob Edwards to launch, but Yosh Rao was watching the lane and he got the shot on Edwards, and then he put a ball on Keith Brown as well. But it was still 3-on-2 in favor of Tampa Bay Damage. They were able to close out and take the early lead. Damage's game plan was working. In the second point, Smith went into the snake wall but got clipped on a bounce shot. Dynasty pushed into the center and the snake. And then Dynasty got another kill and it was a 3-on-5. But Damage trapped in the back and couldn't get small enough, and Dynasty had tied it up. In the next point, Brown went into the snake off the break and Dynasty extended Yosh Rao to the tower in the center. It was 5-on-5. After feeling each other out for a few minutes, Dynasty started to push the snake side. Andrade was finally living up to his potential and dominating all weekend. He was the first into the 50 brick, and he caught Brown to give Dynasty the one-body advantage in a close game. With just 1 minute and 20 seconds left in a 4-on-3, Ryan Greenspan crawled inside, and Harmon moved up to the center 50 ready to attack and win the game. Greenspan came through, and Damage was forced to concede with just 48 seconds left. Damage couldn't win the fast point to tie. Dynasty knocked him out and moved on into the semifinals.
So what was the key thing for you guys? You are a faster team. You can play aggressive to match them.
Just don't play like that. I mean, it's a lame game plan. They're basing their win on the other team getting frustrated and making mistakes. And I think as long as you can outplay that, then it works, you know, because then we just went out, and I think that was the first time they've had to put together an offensive package, and it was like shooting fish in a barrel. Arturo was just pointed out there like at the Alamo, and they were just running around the corner and he was blasting them, you know. So they weren't really prepared to do anything against their own game plan, which if you only have one game plan and that's sit back on your heels, then when you have to turn it up a little bit, it makes it very difficult to make those pushes. But not like they're not capable of doing that, but you know, their whole event has been really slow play and just hope the other team doesn't learn how to break this down. And now you're in the finals day, you know, you're in Sunday, so the teams that you're playing are a lot higher caliber and have now practiced the field even that much more. So we just kind of outplayed them and outsmarted them, I think.
Just lost to San Diego Dynasty 1-2, so knocks us out of the tournament. So, tough loss, but, you know, slow, controlled field, and body here, body there, they squeaked it out.
Welcome back, 2019 NXL Chicago Open, the fourth stop on the tour, the best paintball tournament series on planet Earth. And we are here at the Gaelic Park. I'm Matty Marshall alongside Todd Martinez. Well, it's set here in the semifinals, the professional division. Dynasty AC Dallas is tough to call. Two contrasting styles out here. Two teams that are hungry to win a tournament. AC Dallas never won a tournament. It's been since Vegas 2017 where Senegal Dynasty was able to put a win on the board.
In the semifinal game between Dynasty and AC Dallas, Dynasty got off to a great start. The snake was easy to make off the break. Teams had been attacking that side all event long. Tyler Harmon got into the snake for Dynasty, and BJ Henningberg did as well for AC Dallas. Harmon was the first to push into the 50-yard line brick. Greenspan was inside behind him. He got the shot on Henningberg, though Brad McCurley got a shot on Greenspan and then traded with Harmon. It came down to a 2-on-2. Yosh Rowell and Marcelo Margot made clean, aggressive moves forward to put the first point on the board for San Diego Dynasty. In the second point, it was a 5-on-5 break. AC Dallas played the aggressor, moving up the D side and in the center. They shot Andrade out of the tower. AC was pushing hard, and they tied it up. Penalties on Dynasty in the next 2 points gave AC Dallas a 2-point lead with 4 minutes and 8 seconds left to go.
Side lane, and we're going to see a minor penalty assessed on San Diego Dynasty as who is that going to pull? It's Blake Yarbert coming off. Blake gets the penalty that pulls out A-Rod, but Margot and Greenspan are still alive.
It was a 4-on-4 break after Dynasty lost Andrade and AC Dallas lost McCurley. Matt Jackson then made a big 2-pack move to shoot Tyler Harmon and trade with Greenspan to give AC Dallas a 3-on-2 situation. AC burnt time off the clock as the bodies dropped for both squads. It came down to a 1-on-1, Yosh Rowell versus John Jackson. Jackson quickly won the gunfight, and Dynasty never recovered. Once again, AC Dallas had knocked them out, and they moved on to play their Texas rival San Antonio XFactor in the final match.
AC Dallas is an interesting team because they're so consistent, but a lot of that relies on, and I've been there, it relies on gun-heavy kills on the break. As you get deeper in the tournament, as people figure things out, those kills are not free by any means. So then guys start to hide from those shots on the break and then make secondary moves, and they're changing strategy or doing different things. And you see them not win and not have that, I guess you call it gumption, or adjusting and making those infield play moves to finish.
To me, Sunday is the accumulation of all the work I've put in for decades. It's when we come out here and it's when we get to prove that we are the best at what we do against the other people who are putting in the same amount of work. It's when you're out there basically sword fighting. It's iron sharpening iron, and it's the person there with the most willpower. It's the person with the most heart. It's the person who is willing to gamble and willing to trust his brothers out there that is going to win on Sundays. So every other day you play paintball is a great day. Paintball is a great sport. We love it, and we put in hours and hours doing it. But if it wasn't for the payoff, it might not be worth it.
In the first point of the semifinal match between Houston Heat and San Antonio XFactor, both teams sent a body into the snake, with Moorhead for Heat and Bernaccia for XFactor. Archie Montemayor was the first to take the walk, and Moorhead was the first to get into the 50 snake brick. Billy Bernaccia also came off, and XFactor conceded the point. Houston Heat was able to put guns Bernaccia's way, and he was shot on his run to the snake in the second point. Woodley also came off, and XFactor needed a big move. They got it from Rainey Stanczyk, who came through the center to shoot Moorhead, and it was a 4-on-3. But then Fedorov got the shot on Rainey with one ball and no loader. Mishka then got the shot on Montemayor, and the point went to Heat. Now down by 2, but with over 10 minutes on the clock, XFactor stayed composed, knowing that there were no strangers to this situation. Heat then took the back spots and had a good crossfield spread, but Chad George was clipped out trying to get into the snake, and XFactor took the early advantage on bodies. Moorhead, always the aggressor, made it through lanes to get into the snake, but Woodley had the angle from the center and he took out Moorhead. But after this kill, Woodley pressed, trying to make use of the high bodies, and was taken out. Bernaccia got into the 50 brick in the 4-on-3, and once the gun shifted his way, Archie Montemayor cleaned it up, and XFactor was still in the game. Houston Heat came right back, but a penalty cost XFactor the next point. Then both teams took ground, center and on the snake side. Bernaccia took the snake one for XFactor, and Mishka tried to shut down the D side for Heat from the center, but Jesse Stevens was able to get up the field. Monville was clipped in the pack, and then Mishka was shot trying to lock down a lane. It was a 3-on-5. Bernaccia ran through to finish the perfect point, and it was once again a 1-point match. The next point saw a more conservative break, and then Woodley came off. It was 4-on-5 for Houston Heat. Heat took the front spots and zoned up. Montemayor was shot from his spot in the center, and after some time had ticked off the clock, Ryan Brand conceded the point to give Heat a 2-point lead with 3 minutes and 48 seconds left to go. XFactor now needed a quick point just to stay in the tournament, and they got one, obliterating Heat off the break, and then shortly thereafter to pull within 1. Houston Heat then went with a heavy gun breakout as XFactor pushed out wide with 2:52 on the clock. Both teams went up the center with Woodley and Monville. Mishka took the early walk, and then Woodley bunkered out Monville. Archie seized the initiative and pushed up the D side, shooting Moorhead cross field. Colt Roberts and Rainey Stanzik finished off the point. There was still 45 seconds left in this tie ball game. XFactor pressed hard and was almost able to steal the win. They just needed a few more seconds to close. The game went into overtime. In the overtime point, XFactor shot Mishka early again. Chad George also lost a gunfight, and then Fedorov too. It was a tame end to a tough game, but yet another impressive come-from-behind performance for the current best team in the game. XFactor went on to play AC Dallas for the chance to win 2 events in a row, and preserve for themselves a special place in paintball history.
We look at the mistakes that we made, That means that there are some chinks in the armor that need to be addressed, and we try to call it out, and that's, I think right now the current professional division, paintball players in general have gotten way too good. So it's the whole pro division is getting better and better and better, and everyone is catching up. The bar is getting set higher and higher. So that's why you're seeing these 1-point games, because people are figuring out and learning faster and faster.
AC Dallas's hit list on Sunday in Chicago was stellar. The Russians and Dynasty had fallen, but the team now standing in the way of their long-awaited goal was AC's toughest test to date. XFactor hadn't just come into their own mid-season. They had morphed into something different, another, stronger type of beast. Having threats across the field is paramount, but each and every one of XFactor's lineup was the best that they had ever been.
We hate everybody equally. Like, fuck you, we won't practice you, you cheated, blah, blah, blah. You do this, whatever, fuck everybody. So to say that we have a rivalry against XFactor isn't more than what we have a hate for trying to beat other teams. We don't like the BKI fucking chant.
Absolutely. That's more of a rivalry than anything. So BKIT is a tattoo that a lot of the XFactor guys. It means best kids in Texas.
BKI stands for best, or BKIT stands for best kids in Texas. Well, so I've grown up playing with, not with, but about the same time period as like Colt and Archie. Colt used to beat up on me when I was like 14, 15. And that's cool. They were BKI for a long time. But if you look back statistically, I know we haven't won an event like they have this year, but we had won or beat them heads up more matches than they had beat us.
Every time we beat them, we say BKIT, right? That's the point, right? So yes, that's the rivalry because it's a bold statement. And right now, they got it.
So again, not talking shit, but we hate when they fucking chant that BKIT because they've got fewer Texas players than we do.
Their winning formed the culmination of hard and humbling battles. Yes, AC Dallas was ready to win, but XFactor was in the midst of redefining what catalyzed the top team's drive for the #1 spot. Some of the frustration from their 5-year drought was diminished by their win in Philadelphia, but in their eyes, they had just hit their stride.
Every piece of our game is perfected in a way. So I feel like we're going to come out here and take the win. It's going to be a low-scoring game, but I feel like we're going to beat it to them.
Coming off a win, I think it's going to be real interesting. I definitely think they want to repeat. That'd be a big deal because I thought that last win from Philly was a long overdue for them. And I feel like a lot of people would say the same for us, that we're long overdue. It's hard to say who wants it more. We definitely want this one. We feel we can take it. We feel like we're playing real good together.
It'll be a good match. I expect it to be close, and I expect there to be at least a few long points. I just feel like we're untouchable right now. We're floating right now. We're gonna exploit them by winning the first couple of points, and once we do that, they're done. They won't be able to match. They won't be able to hit us hard. I mean, that's the reality of it. They're gonna play a slow game, and they're gonna try to win the first couple of points and just sit back. We're gonna win the first 2 points, and then it's gonna be cruising from there on out.
At the beginning of the final match, XFactor came out aggressive and AC Dallas stayed in the pocket. John Woodley went up the center on a delay, looking D-side, After a minute, Ryan Hall got into the snake and crawled out wide. It was 5-on-5 until Jesse Stevens was taken out. Colt Roberts immediately filtered into his spot. Bernaccia then gunned his way into the 50 snake. Matt Jackson lost a gunfight to even up the count. Ryan Hall was the next to drop, courtesy of Woodley. But then Bernaccia clocked in with a crossfield shot on Brad McCurley. BJ Henningberg tried to launch a counterattack, but AC conceded the point. After the first long point, AC Dallas again stayed in the pocket and lost Brad McCurley running out to the D side off the break. Woodley continued his aggression up the center, going to the 50 again, looking to push forward. Then XFactor lost one as well and threw away the advantage. Baylor Bernaccia went into the snake 50 and got a shot on Matt Jackson, but then he came off as well. It was down to a 3-on-3. Woodley made a tactical retreat, got over to the snake side and made the shot on BJ Henningberg. AC was trapped on the D side and they could not stay alive. XFactor put up their second point.
They won't be able to hit us hard. I mean, that's the reality of it. They're going to play a slow game and they're going to try to win the first couple of points and just sit back. We're going to win the first 2 points and then it's going to be cruising from there on out.
Now down 2, AC came out aggressive. BJ Henningberg went right into the snake and Ryan Hall went up the center. But on the break, AC lost Hall and McCurley, and then John Jackson right after. It was XFactor's advantage 4-on-2. But Montemayor got shot on his attack. Rainey saw the death and launched his own attack and bunkered out Henningberg. Woodley won the point from the D side, shooting Matt Jackson. Now in the hole 3, with 5:13 left, AC had no choice but to push forward, and they got a shot on John Woodley off the break. But then they lost Matt Jackson to make it a 4-on-4. Ryan Hall then got the shot on Bernaccia to give AC a chance, but time was dwindling. With 1:15 left, AC was trying to find a way. In the scramble, bodies dropped for both squads, but John Jackson was the last body alive to put up AC's first point.
Hit that buzzer with a minute on the clock.
Oh, somebody from the stands was yelling faster, faster.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
It happened for his team.
So Matt Jackson started this one with 51 confirmed kills. Correct me if you think I'm wrong. 2 kills so far for Matt Jackson.
Yeah.
Still good enough to take this golden barrel because Archie at 46, that's pretty solid, but I don't think that, I don't think he's got it. There's no way that that's going to happen. There's a minute left. Archie would have to shoot everybody
here
and
play another point.
Yeah.
Needing to just a tie, with just a minute and 2 seconds left, it was time for a reckless attack. A minor on Jesse Stevens helped AC's cause, and Hall and Matt Jackson came through to double bunker Rainey Stanzik in the back bunker and finished the point. With all the comebacks and quick points already seen in the 2019 NXL season, 30 seconds left might have been enough for AC if they could just get a clean break. But they drew a minor penalty, and XFactor was again victorious.
Bring it up!
For San Antonio XFactor, Sunday had been full of frustration and disappointment for a long time. But this win had solidified their legendary status and their place in the memories of paintball fans forever. But on the horizon, they could see the World Cup approaching. A win there, for 3 in a row, would be a monumental achievement. Could they do it? Or would a new team rise up to take the title? Find out next time on the last episode of 5 Sundays.
Badly, you wanted it. You played so great and strong all weekend long. How is the team feeling?
Just frustrated. Second this year, and we felt really good this event. Just made a lot of mistakes in the finals. And when you play against a team like XFactor in the finals and they're playing real well, you can't make mistakes, period.
Well, there is always World Cup, and we do have some silver lining good news. You are our Golden Barrel winner for this tournament. Congratulations. Anything you want to say about that?
Bittersweet. I'd much rather the other gold than this, but this makes me feel good. It's a lot of hard work for a long time, so it feels good.
Anyone you want to thank or any shout outs you want to make?
My team, honestly, AC Dallas. I can't say the word that I want to use, but I'm a real prick at practice a lot of times. So them sticking with me and always letting me play and everyone being there for me, it feels real good getting something like this. But like I said, I want the gold for the team more than this.
Well, I know we're all proud of you. You guys are always a top team. Great fighting. Congratulations. Back to you guys.